And our backs are one of those issues that affect quite a lot of us. So a bit of self-love, self-care, Pilates back care. Let's start off first of all just with a little mobility. So hands on those hips and just tilting your pelvis forward and back. So mobilizing that lumbar spine, tucking your tailbone, sticking it back out again. So make sure that movement's coming from here, not bending and straightening your legs. So tilt, tuck. Think about a gymnast, sticking the bum out. And think about a slouchy teenager, tucking it under. All right, now let's try some lateral movement, side to side. So think sexy catwalk, wiggle it, side to side. All right, let's mobilize it a little more. Starting with some lateral flexion of your spine. So just moving from side to side. So our spine moves in lots of different directions. We can flex sideways, we can twist. So let's take those arms out, and a little bit of rotation, twisting from one side to the other. So imagine each vertebra in your spine twisting one at a time. Take it slow. And then we can flex our spine forwards. We can extend that spine backwards. So just warming up that upper back, a little rounding forward, opening back. If you're feeling okay, you can go a little further. But again, just listen to your own body. All right, now let's lift opposite arm, opposite leg. So again, we're just working on that lumbar pelvic area, that lower back. Mobilizing and warming it up. And then let's think a little higher now, our thoracic spine, so this part here where your lungs and chest are. So roll those shoulders, draw them down and back. Now let's just breathe in, lifting your arms up at the side, breathing out, lowering them. So expanding into your rib cage. And then we'll have a full roll down. So tucking your head in, curling down your spine, one vertebra at a time, just to where's comfortable for you. And then restack that spine as you roll back up. So again, rolling down as if you're peeling your vertebra off the wall behind you. And then restacking that spine like you're building a tower made out of Lego, one block on top of the other. Each vertebra one on top of the other. One more time. Lifting your arms up in front, opening your arms wide. Little squeeze of those shoulder blades. Back together. And down. So again, we're working in that thoracic spine, that upper spine, between your shoulder blades. Squeeze those shoulder blades back and bring them back down again. So breath in, opening. Good. So these little mobility exercises are good to do when you've been sat at a desk for too long. Or slumped in front of the sofa. All right, little change now. Arms are going to lift up and out wide. You're going to reach over to the right. Back back to the centre, reach over to the left. Back to the centre, bring your arms forwards and lower them back down again. So breath in, open, over to the right, over to the left. Hands back together again and lower. Let's do that one more time. Breath in, opening wide, flexing across, and relaxing down. Now bending your knees, a little squat. So again, we're just working that lumbar pelvic area, hips, knees, ankles. Two more. Come back up to standing. So turning your right knee out to the side and back to the centre. So again, we're just going to turn that right knee out and centre. So just opening in the hip. Think about engaging your tummy muscles like you're tightening a belt from hip to hip. So our shoulders and head stay still, facing forward. Harder option is to lift the leg. But again, make sure when you're lifting that leg, you're not turning your whole body. So upper body stays still. We want to work from the hip. And if you need to, you can tap your foot on the floor. All right, let's change legs. So first of all, opening, toe on the floor. Harder option, lifting. And again, you can tap at the side and then lift if you prefer. Or challenge your balance, don't put your foot down. Now, a lot of back problems also relate to us not firing our glutes, our bum properly. So what I want you to do now is just to lift your leg up behind you and down. Change legs. So you can have a very small lean forward, but I don't want you to be leaning forward like that. If you want to, you could hold on to something. So think again, squeeze your glutes as you push your heel back. So make sure when you're pushing your leg back, it's going in a straight line. We're not twisting it out at the side. Okay, so sometimes we twist our leg in order to lift it higher. So think about parallel line, train tracks, lifting it back. Good. Okay, there's some standing exercises you can do. Let's do some on the floor though. So come down onto your hands and knees. I hope you can see me in this lovely sunlight. So on your hands and knees, we've got a box position here. Rounding your back, I want you to tuck that tailbone underneath, rounding your spine, so pushing your shoulder blades apart, tucking your head in. And then we tilt our pelvis up to the ceiling, so lifting that tail. You let your tummy drop, lengthening through your spine and lifting your head. So we get a little dip in our back. So the movement comes from tucking and tilting your pelvis. Rounding your back, dipping your back. So imagine you're tucking your tailbone between your legs and then pushing it up to the ceiling. Now we all vary in our backs as to how much movement we've got there. So some of you might get quite a light dipped back. Make sure that you're not bending your shoulders. So keep your arms reasonably straight, but not locking them out. So slight bend on those elbows, particularly if you're hypermobile in your elbows. Now another nice one you can do here is waggling your tail. So just moving your hips from side to side. So let me show you that sideways, front on. So we're just moving our hips side to side. You can turn and look for your hips. Good. All right. let's come onto our backs now. So we're just looking at mobility, not strength particularly. Lying on your back, we're going to start with some pelvic tilts. So all you're going to do is place your hands on those hip bones, fingers pointing towards your pubic bone, and just tilt your hips back. So as you tilt your hips back, you're making a little slope, fingertips pointing up. And then we're going to tilt your hips forward, tilt your pelvis forward. So this time, fingertips are slightly pointing down. So it's like flatten my back, tilting my pelvis, nothing can get underneath. Tilt my pelvis forwards, I've made a big arch, I can get the whole of my arm underneath. So those are your pelvic tilts, literally flattening your back, arching your back. Now, let's flatten that back. Think about each vertebra in your spine as you roll up, lifting your hips, lifting your back. And then we simply roll back down, one vertebra at a time. Now as you come down to this last bit, take it slow, breathe out, slowly, slowly, each vertebra. Flatten your back, breathe in as you peel up. Breathe out, roll back down as slowly as you can. Really feeling each bony bit, particularly that last bit of our back. So this lumbar spine here is more fused, means it's less mobile. So it's a lot harder to do one vertebra at a time. Check that your knees aren't wobbling. So little gap between knees and feet. Squeezing your glutes. And think as if you're desperate for the loo, so closing all exits underneath. All right, let's do one more. Now, finding what we call that neutral spine, so that halfway point between a flat back and an arched back. We're going to tilt your right knee out to the side, about 45 degrees, and back to the centre. So we're not rolling it all the way over to the side. I want you to keep this left knee and hip still. So really just controlling our pelvis, opening our hip. Imagine you're tightening a belt from hip to hip, tightening those muscles. Let's try it with the other leg. So right leg stays still, left knee tilts out to the side. Now I'm just going to turn that way so you can see a little better. Moving it just onto that edge of my foot and back to the centre. So it's about going slow and controlled. Hip stability. All right, a little bit of mobility for our spine. Arms out wide. Bring your knees and ankles together. So we're going to tilt our knees and hips again, just 45 degrees to one side. Back to the centre slowly. 45 degrees to the other side. And back to the centre slowly. So we're keeping shoulders and arms glued to the floor. If I roll too far, my shoulder hairs come off the floor. So keep shoulder blades on the floor. Some of you may be mobile enough to do it all the way over, but I don't want you to. I want you just to go halfway and make it really slow. So imagine that diagonal line from rib cage to opposite hip, pulling those legs back to the centre and controlling it as they twist to the side. If you want to, make it a little harder, lift your legs. But again, you're only going halfway, not all the way over. And the slower you go, the better. So, draw your right knee in, have a little hug. Now you can have your left foot on the floor, or you can slide it out. So we're just getting a little stretch there. Change legs. Hug your left knee, and if you're able to, slide your right leg out. Draw both knees in. Just give your back a little massage. Circling your legs round one way and then the other. Roll over onto your knees. Bring one foot forward and push yourself back up to standing. Fantastic. Hope you enjoyed that and that's a benefit to you. See you next time.